gasoline and grit running inside the blood. We don't lift, we don't quit, we just send it. Get running for something right deadly.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 7 of the
Right Deadly Show. Today we've got a very special guest, Mark Miller. Mark's been around since the beginning, pretty well, of sanctioned ATV racing in Nova Scotia. He's been there for the lows, the highs. He's going to tell us some stories today of things that used to happen and what has gone on and kind of where we're at and where we should be going. Introduce yourself, Mark.
Well, I'm Mark. Been around this stuff a long time. Officially retired now, but I guess as long as you get a race bike in the garage, you're not really ever totally retired.
That's right. That's right.
I could come back out of retirement if something was interesting.
Yeah.
So, but these days, just I got a 13-year-old now in basketball. He's into competitive basketball, so that's that and snowmobiling.
Yep.
ATVing, and working. Trying to make a living. That's pretty much what's going on in my world.
Yep. So, what got you into ATVs way back? How did this all start for you?
I can, every month you'd be like, go to the drugstore, the three-wheeling magazines out.
Yep.
And you'd get that, and these guys, like you'd see these guys in these 250Rs and Takati Cowies and stuff, and thinking, man, these guys are making a living doing what we do playing.
Yeah.
Just, man, like this is awesome. So you just waited and waited for that magazine to come, and then lo and behold, slowly they'd start having some events. The first one that I ever really got involved with, like I was saying, you guys, the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts used to put on a big do out Sand and Gravel, Nova Scotia Sand and Gravel, and it was a fundraiser for them guys, and they had a big hill climb. It wasn't side by side racing, but they had a time slalom. But I mean, we're talking about bikes back, we're talking 1983. 84, and this was serious friggin' business for some of these guys. You had Metro Motorsports. They were the big Honda dealer in Sackville. These guys, they went to win. And then you had All Terrain Charlie's was around. You had Triple E was the Yamaha dealer. These guys, they had teams and were coming.
Yeah.
And it was good stuff. So, anyways, we went, and I'd have to say that's probably officially where the first race I ever did was on a 1982 200 three-wheeler.
Yes, sir.
You did the hill climb, and then you did the slalom. Yeah. And to this day, like I said, I know why I lost, because I was on a 1982 and it didn't have front suspension, and the 83 had suspension on it. And that was the difference. I'm telling you, that's why I lost that race. So anyways, after that, it just, things got more serious and more stuff got going on.
Yep.
Super Wheels was another big thing. Exhibition Park. Now that was long before yours and my time indoors. This was out back. It was every spring that they'd put on this event, and it was one day of like dirt bikes, and then the next day it was ATVs. And so anyways, same thing. I was talked into going to there and do a race on a 1985 250R three-wheeler.
Yes, sir.
Motocross racing. So up to that point, I only ever done a cross-country race on a 250R, but I was going. So I went.
How many people would show up? Like, how many bikes would show up to something like that?
That was another big event. There was a lot of people coming, and everyone was there. It was springtime, so everybody wanted to come out and see something. Yeah. And this. By now, these really weird-looking things called four-wheelers were on the scene.
Yeah.
We were getting the quad racers, the 500 Quadzillas and stuff like that were starting to show up. So then what was going on was they were I remember them four-wheelers were showing up and we're saying, these will never last.
Yeah.
These things aren't going nowhere. Three-wheelers where it's at. Anyways, it wasn't where it was at. The four-wheelers took over, and then the three-wheelers kind of had their own thing. But anyways, I did a race. It was a three-wheeler class, and I did the race there, and I ended up second in that one. So I'm just like, finally gonna get a trophy. We go up at the end of the race, and the guy hands me an envelope for second place with $50 in it. I'm like, what are we gonna do with $50? I want a trophy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is the beginning where you're, that elusive trophy. So, anyways, that was a good time. That was a, and then after that, things kind of progressed along even more after that again. So,
Okay.
Obviously, my very first race was a cross country race at Motorsport Park. They used to do some cross country racing out there, and I was talked into doing that. And you obviously,
that's AMP
you
track
still
now
see,
that we're talking.
you know the remnants of that old track still there.
I run. That's where a lot of my videos come from. Through that section of land. I've been riding that land for well, I'm 29 now. I started probably riding it when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
So
Then in those
long
days, what would happen a lot of times is they'd have a cross country race on one day and then a motocross race on the next day.
Okay.
With the dirt bikes and stuff like that.
I remember as a kid going out. So my buddies' parents, they were big into the Supercross track. They used to pick us up. They'd grab our dirt bikes. We both had 50s. And they'd take us out. We'd be bombing around the pits watching them. And then they'd let us, once everybody else was off the track, they would let us go play around and have like a little kid fun day on the track and stuff like that.
If you walk in the right place, even in between the paved track, you can still see remnants of the old motocross track. We're talking back in the 80s, like mid 80s and stuff. So that was a great place for it. It was in the middle of nowhere, lots of room, and it was a great place for that type of stuff.
That place, holy man, it's always been a draw. I never realized they did cross-country ATV racing there. That's crazy.
Yeah, they did. It was a pretty big thing, and you got to remember back in these days, these bikes weren't quite tailor-made like they are now.
Yeah. Right.
You could switch a set of tires out and a pipe, and you were cross-country racing.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow put the knob, the turf tamers back on. And you were motocross racing. We weren't talking about bikes that were specifically made for motocross racing now.
Right.
You wouldn't dare take a bike like you or I were racing now in the woods.
You
like
take a lowered
it was too much money, and to wreck it. So that was the thing that these guys could do. Could on the fly could change over and be ready for a.
And there's a lot of involvement, a lot of sponsor involvement from shops in the area. It's like
there was. It was So that was another step that it went. By now we're into the sanctioned racing.
Yep.
CMA was the sanctioned, and they looked after all Atlantic Canada. Yep. So we were guys were racing in Moncton, St. John, New Brunswick, Fredericton. We were here Shubenacadie and places like that. So
is it St. John or River Hammond Speedway?
Yes.
Yes.
We would
like that.
would go up there to that track. And they'd always so back in them days, back in the the late '80s and early '90s, it was quite economical because what they choose it would be a weekend. You go up, race one day, drink Saturday night, and come back and hope that your competition wasn't as good the next day. So you were played kind of coy with them. You wouldn't drink as much, and maybe you could beat them tomorrow. But anyways, so that St. John race, what they'd do is one day you'd race the track one direction. Next day you'd race it the other direction.
Oh wow!
To change it up, so you didn't really have a leg up on anybody. They go the other way. So so that by now we're into strictly quads now. We're past the three wheelers and we're into the four wheeler stuff now.
So like when they stopped producing the three wheelers, the racing for the three wheelers kind of died around the same time.
Yeah, it did. That was pretty much the end. And the quads, by now, you had the quad racers, they come out in '85, so there was a bit of an overlap happening there. So they took over.
Was there ever a time when the three-wheelers
yes,
and the four-wheelers
They were. Yeah, there was. The original Super Wheels and stuff, they were. It was just 250 two-stroke.
Yep.
Didn't matter how many wheels it had. And that's the way it was.
That could be some pretty hairy racing.
It was. It was. The three-wheelers had some advantages in places.
Yeah.
And quads had the other ones. Three-wheelers were faster.
Yep.
But the quads could go around the corners to friggin' fast. You had that inside paw holding you. That was the difference. That was the difference.
My buddy has a built. I think it's an '84 and '85. It's a 253 wheeler.
Yeah.
And fully like it. I don't know. I think he's got like 20 grand dumped into it. But he doesn't race it. He takes it and he beats it up through the woods, and man, he can run it. I guess.
Some guys on three-wheelers, man. I got a couple buddies that still
he loves that.
three-wheelers.
He loves it.
The biggest thing with the three-wheelers, we were, the guy, I never ever ice raced a three-wheeler. By the time I get into the ice racing, I was on a quad. But the thing was, on a flat surface, once you got that body technique, that's why you see a lot of these guys, when you were racing four wheels, you'd see these guys really hanging off their quads and
Oh,
stuff.
you're just sitting on the Nerf
Guess
bar,
where
yeah.
that come from?
Three-wheeler.
The three-wheeler
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It wasn't that they were showboating or trying to look cool. On a three-wheeler, that's what you had to do to keep
That's
the
right.
damn thing down, to
Yeah.
make it go around the corner.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of that old technique come from.
I got a lot of three-wheelers when I grew up. Like I said, I had a 82 ATC 200 just like you, the solid front shocks on it
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of them, a bunch of big red 250s. I had a 250R once, I had a 350X. That was pretty much it. And I had a couple of Yamahas. I had a couple of the tri-motos too.
I had one of those
Couple
too.
of
Yeah.
little tri-motos.
Wheelie Kings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
They were fun. They were a lot of fun.
The three-wheelers, they were dangerous in the right hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you knew what you're doing,
Yeah.
they were fine. But it's just like anything, if you weren't educated on it,
Yeah.
and the dirt bike guys, you know what they always wanted to do? Put that leg down.
Yes.
Next thing you know, they were getting swallowed
Yeah.
by that inside wheel.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
Oh, that was die hard.
yes,
Yeah.
But it was cool doing that. And then you close the chapter on the three-wheelers, and then the quad started, and there was no looking back then. You just,
Yeah.
if you were gonna race and do stuff, you had no choice.
The machines back then a lot more rugged than what guys are buying and riding in
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah.
In big time.
You get a lot of guys now buying the 450s and chopping the frames on them, putting dirt bike handle forks and stuff on them, making the trikes.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Russell, has made a few of them,
down
right?
the States that's big too. And
Right.
they got some classes again
Yeah.
now. Some of these racetracks are getting back in it. And they got the Nerf bars and stuff on them. But I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know whether you could ever coax me back onto
Yeah.
a three-wheeler to do any type of spirited
The
riding.
last time I drove one was my buddy's, his 250R, and we're in the woods, and I wasn't even driving, I was passenger that night with my buddy, and his woman couldn't make it up. It was a steep, massive hill. We're talking New Year's Eve. And he had to go up with her, and he's like, who can take my three-wheeler up? And nobody here can drive, let alone drive a three-wheeler, let alone one with a clutch and that's all bored out. I think it was 320 cc's, you're talking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll give it a shot. It's been a couple of years. I mean, I jumped on that thing. I must have flipped it right over backwards 6 or 7 times before I could get the hang of it up the hill. And you're talking going up like a hill climb,
Yeah.
right? In the middle of what, snow, ice, and
Yeah.
street. Oh, it was tricky. But he went right back down. He's like, oh, it ain't that hard. And he just come flying up it like it was like me going across the mud hole.
Once
Right?
you
It's
just
just
anything, eh? Once you get a feel for it,
Yeah.
you know what they
Yeah,
can
you
do, can-
needed to know that obviously that balancing point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much forward, how much back to the
Yeah.
side, this and that. And guys that ride them lots. Sometimes went back in the racing days, you just knew.
Yeah.
And you obviously went over a few times and you knew. It's just like
Yeah.
anything else. You knew that tipping point of anything.
Well, we used
so-
to race motocross together back in the day, and we used to spend every day after school, if we didn't go to a track, we'd meet up on sand and gravel. 'Cause
Yep.
we live
a
major
yeah.
hang
Focus
Yeah.
Farm and Shoe be there. That's Jacob Focus was his
Yep.
name, and he'd leave there, and we'd both meet on Chrome Road, and then we'd
Yep.
split off. He back then he was running like a 230, and I ever had my CR 125, my CRF 250, and I had an 85, but it was bored out with a 125 kit, and that thing was that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cody
That-
Thompson actually has it now.
It's funny that you say about Nova Scotia sand and gravel. That was way back. That was a different time then. But man, that's where you hung out. Anybody that was anybody hung out at Nova Scotia sand and gravel.
The same with that's the
Yeah.
the race truck stuff kind of started.
Yeah,
off.
the guys that were training or practicing and getting ready for racing, they were there. There was guys going back there. If you had the hottest machine or that guy climbed that hill or
Yeah.
did that, you went back. You're going to show him up next
That's
year.
right,
And
that's right.
that was quite a hangout. And and the part that I loved about it just shows you how much times have changed. I can remember going back there, same as the silica sand pit, and the loader operators and dozer operators, they'd stop right midstream and watch the antics.
Oh yeah.
But then of course you get all the dummies, and next thing guys are smashing windows out of equipment and stuff.
Yeah. Right,
And the next
right.
thing we weren't wanted.
That's right.
And we
That's
weren't
right.
allowed
Just
there.
kind of ruins it for everybody.
And that was the unfortunate thing is, because like sand and gravel, them guys just love seeing us come because they know they're getting some kind of a show out of it.
That's
Someone
right.
was either going to flip and do something or...
There's not much for hill climbs. I was actually in there like a couple weeks ago when I drove by. I went by, pulled in
Yeah,
there.
almost
It's a
one
sand
fish
pit, like the
there,
little
yeah.
track
Yes,
is still out back
yeah.
by the water reservoir.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime that's no good because it's half frozen. But
Yeah.
there's one or two hill climbs out front, and you can't even climb them because they're by the time you get up top, you got to basically bank and come back down.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go.
We always said with them hill climbs, you had about 2/3 the way up. It was either all the way or
you
abort mission.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't think you could make it after 2/3 up, you were scrubbing the mission.
The idea of hill climb racing on the bikes, that sounded like it would have been a lot of fun.
Well, like so back to the Boy Scouts doing that. You obviously had the guys there with the hooks and crooks to grab you, so it wasn't too much carnage. But
It's like
it was.
what we watch on out there in New Zealand on touch.
Oh,
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
guys
yeah.
are sitting right there at the top of the hills with the chain hook ready to grab on the front of the renegade. The guys, they're bouncing up through the trees and stuff like that, right?
So you mentioned ice racing.
Yeah.
We're all
That was a
everywhere.
whole different going concern. So Kearney Lake was the big hangout in the wintertime. And then we're talking back when like old-fashioned winters like this year, where you had ice and it was racing every weekend. So right down there in that cove, if you headed out through Kearney Lake and you're heading out through, there was a little cove and they get out there with a Toyota truck and plow an oval. And then they'd have the classes and you'd race. So, leading up to that, you were studding tires. There's none of this buying pre-studded or buying parts.
A lot of
You were,
work, too.
fingers to the meat, drilling screws and putting them in. And that was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. You had to have a fast bike and you had to have something that could handle fairly good. And but you were always, the temperatures were cold, so with two-strokes you were chasing jetting all the time. One day it might be 0. Next day it's -15 that you're racing, so you were chasing, because if you went out there, you're talking wide open all the way around an oval. Next thing you pop it, you're gonna pop
Kearney
it.
Lake's
So
a decent sized lake too. I got family that live on that lake.
But
I used to fly up and down on the sea.
it was a lot of fun. And when I go back, I look back here not that long ago through my box of trophies and whatnot, and that's where I finally secured my first trophy. Was at Kearney Lake, was ice racing. So that was where the very first one come from. So, but it was
today actually up in Sutherland's Lake.
they're
They
doing
got 2-day competition up
Yeah.
there.
radar runs or something. I think they're doing.
Are they doing? Yeah.
But it was a good time doing that. It obviously broke up the monotony in the wintertime because everyone kind of got back together, and then there was always a couple of ringers that were really good at ice racing. They knew the setup, knew the stud technique, made big power, stuff like that. And you didn't judge by just the look of a bike. Because you'd look at something and lo and behold, that thing would be a rocket ship.
That's right.
So you just got to kind of, and then you'd see the guys out there in practice, and you know that they weren't showing their whole hand. They were out there just getting things ready, and then all of a sudden they come to life once the races started. So, so that was a lot of fun, a lot of good times there too. Yeah.
So you would have raced a motocross track out the Onslow Speedway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The kind of the mini, almost like a mini supercross in the in part of the oval there. Yeah. That was a good setup there. That was a lot of fun there. A lot of fun there. And they actually they kind of put on their own little series there amongst the regular series. Like they were having their own type of thing going on there. So that was there was a lot of fun there. A lot of it weren't crazy big jumps, but pretty it still was challenging. It wasn't like you had it mastered after a couple laps, and it was still pretty challenging, and it wasn't super dusty there because you were getting into that red mud from and whatnot. So that was another good place. Another good place to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to the Onslow one.
Like I
think I've
remember
been
for
to
years
remnants of it, but I've never been to it when there was an event there.
like when I was doing the motocross, I think it was not until we got separate motos that Pleasant Valley kind of let us back. But people said that they raced Pleasant Valley years ago on the four-wheelers. I imagine you were there.
Yeah, we were. We were there from the beginning.
Yep.
And times I went through some rough spells there and some different politics of what a track should be and shouldn't be, and why we shouldn't be there. So we went through a stretch where we weren't allowed to race there. It was the only track on the series where we couldn't go. And here you go, right in your backyard, your home track. All the times your family and friends might want to come watch your race, and you'd have to tell them, the closest race you can see us will be in Riverglade. It was right there in your backyard, and we couldn't. But then things kind of thawed out a little bit. And times changed, and we were allowed back there again. That was cool.
I only got to race. I only raced there the one time. I do.
In Onslow?
Yeah. No.
Riverglade.
Pleasant Valley.
Oh, Pleasant Valley. Yeah. I've been to Pleasant Valley lots on dirt bike. Never got to go on a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
Lots on.
It was never.
I've been to Riverglade on a dirt bike.
It was never one of my favorite tracks to go to, but I always did good there.
Yep.
So use it's the other way around. You know what I mean? Usually the reason you don't like going there because you do shitty there, and for some reason, I always seemed could pull one of the hat there and do good. Yeah.
So you showed us some pictures earlier. The Montreal Supercross.
Yeah.
So you had to qualify to be able to go there. You couldn't just show up to it.
So the Montreal Supercross, that was a totally Quebec run thing. So as we Quebec, things are a little different in Quebec.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always are.
Yeah.
So they would kind of watch we were in the Atlantic Division. Obviously, they would kind of keep an eye. So what would happen is fall would come closer. You would somewheres you'd see the entry form.
Yeah.
So you'd send the form in, and they were pretty good, but they liked to stack the obviously wanted to stack the field with Quebec guys.
Right.
But they did want some villains, so they'd bring some Americans in, or they bring Atlantic Canadians in, or guys from Ontario.
Yeah.
As filler to fill the round thing. So there was no guarantee you're getting in, and lo and behold, the first year I ever went, I was the only one here that actually went. It was me and Glenn Baker. A whole bunch of us had our names in to go, and for whatever reason, I was drawn out of a hat, but they picked me to go, and it was like the week before the race. So like I just happened to be working shift work, so I was able to make it happen. So I loaded up my mechanic buddy, and we headed off to the Montreal Supercross.
Yep.
Never, basically two country bumpkins heading off to the big city in a pickup truck with a cap on the back.
Yeah.
And we show up there to the first one, and Olympic Stadium,
Huge.
massive. Like we just couldn't, we couldn't even, didn't know what to expect when we got there. No, couldn't even guess what it was going to be like. And we got there. So anyways, this was the first year that they actually brought in some of the heavy hitters from the States.
So,
This race was starting to become popular. Like guys were starting to see this race like from down the States, and we want to go to the Montreal Supercross. So they were getting, now they were getting some of these bigger names to go up against some of the heavy hitters from Quebec.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got there, and Jesus, I looked at our names were on the wall on your sheets for your heat races and yada yada yada. And the first name that stuck out to me, Gary Denton.
Gary Denton, wow.
8-time American champ, shows up at the Montreal Supercross.
You were on the line with him.
And so him and me, he was my idol. This
Right.
guy, this is Mr. ATV racing.
Right.
Yeah.
He's here. So anyways, me and my mechanic were just sitting on the tailgate getting the 4-wheeler ready, and I had noticed that I was running 111 on my quad. And when he offloaded his, it had 111. Usually as a guest, when you come from another place, usually that's the number they'll give you, just 111.
Yeah.
So he moseys over, and he goes, just wondering who's racing this quad. And I know who he is. I'm like, I am. He goes, I noticed that we have a conflict of numbers on our quad. So I'm thinking, he's going to tell me to go to hell. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, it's your home race. He goes, he winks at me. He goes, we'll let you keep the number. I'll change my number. So here's the 8-time champion, basicly bowing to the friggin' local country guy that comes from Atlantic Canada.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
he went with 100 or 101, and I was 111.
Okay.
Stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Stand-up guy.
He ended up winning?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Him and that. So the guys from Quebec, the Desermeaux brothers,
Yes.
these guys were just absolutely wizards on quads, and it come down to Denton and Jean Desermeaux in the main, and the Desermeaux's quads always looked like stock Suzuki's. Their father was an engineer, and he was just an absolute wizard at building stuff, and you couldn't tell what he did. So anyways, they look, here we go, we're going the main, and Jean Desermeaux was on Denton's back wheels the whole friggin' race. He could not get by him. And in the end, Denton did get it.
Yep.
But he gave him everything you could. And if
had
you
to
walked
work
up to
for
that
it.
quad racer and looked at it, you would have swore that it was a bone stock quad racer. It had stock shocks on it. you know, this and that. But all the tricky stuff was inside. His father could do internal stuff and trick you every time. So, anyways, it was quite an event for us to go to, just to experience that the first time.
And that's dirt bikes too. And
they had the trucks there. They had the
trucks.
buggies.
Yeah.
You know, the dirt bikes obviously is the main class. But
Yeah.
but the Quebec people love quads.
Yes.
VTTs as they call them up there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they love them. So they were there for the quads. They just, that's what they wanted to see, and they would just go completely crazy watching the quads. I'd never seen the likes of it.
And huge, just
yeah,
packed
it was
crowds.
massive. It was a massive, 40, 50,000 people in Olympic Stadium, and pro Quebec racers. These guys are getting cheered on, so you can imagine how loud they are every time Gene Desormeaux is trying to push his way past Gary Denton.
Yeah, holy man.
Yeah, it was quite a spectacle to see. It really was. So that, anyways, after that, it become quite a pilgrimage to go up there. You know, obviously the next couple of years, like, Glenn Baker and all the older guys, we started, going faithfully every year. That was how you finished it.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'd always say about the Montreal Supercross, anybody that went there and come back, if there was any races left in the season, them guys were faster.
Oh, yeah.
You would always get faster running with them guys up there because they were fast.
Yep.
And, you just, I don't know what it was, you just learnt more running with super fast guys.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, so it was quite an event.
That was always my big scheme, in practice. I'd say, I know Damon or I know Brentley's going to go and smack all them jumps, so I'm just going to go get right on their heels, and then I'll be good for the first moto.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So what year was your last year up there?
They did it for quite some time, and then I had retired, and then a couple of years I went up and helped Glenn's son Damon. He was still racing.
He got 13th overall.
Yeah,
one year,
yeah.
or
So I
12th
would
or something.
fly up, and I would help them in the pits. So I just was still going for the experience. I wasn't doing any racing, and I was just twisting wrenches and giving them Gatorade and getting the bikes back and forth. So I was still involved in that then, doing that, and then it ended. It ended. They stopped doing it, and then here a few years ago they tried to revive it again. And me and Damon actually flew up to watch it for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but it was never at that point. It was never what they were nowhere
That was
near
back
what they
in,
were.
like 2019.
Yes, I believe so.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was a basically nothing at all what it was.
No.
And then obviously whoever the promoters felt like they lost their shirts on it, and then it went away again.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it again.
I know Alberta does one still. They do the Triple Crown. I was showing you there, that one there. I want to try and get up to go and race. They'll let me with the Renegade.
So
They haven't said no to it yet, but the rules specify any modified bike under 700 cc's can race in this.
Indoor racing.
Race, but doesn't modify it. It doesn't specify two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And I messaged him. I was like, "There's no specifications here." They're like, "I think that's allowed." We've never had somebody ask that, but we think that's allowed.
A gray area, yeah.
Right? Like, and I'm like, well, you let me know what I need to do, and I'll do it. Like,
Yeah,
I'd like
so
to come out and try to do one race or something.
Full floorboards.
Yeah.
Production bike. Right.
Right? And that's it. I take my Rhino off, take the horn off, and put the XXC cover on
There's
it.
no CC limit, I think, in junior, and the pro was like a 450 or production
Yeah,
limit
and
or
that's what,
whatever.
it's 700 Raptors, what they're capping at. But there's, like I said, there's no real, if you got a 650 Renegade, why can't you go up there and try it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Might hurt myself, but.
The biggest, like in the early years of the quad racing and stuff, was it was hard getting race parts. Everything was in the States.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our Canadian dollar was in the toilet.
Yep.
So it was costing you double. We were, so when I think back, some of the funnest times we were building our own stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were robbing shocks off this and building that and making our own bumpers and doing whatever we could do to build our own quads, and doing this and that, because the only way to get the stuff was from the States.
Yeah.
And it costs you dear to get it here. And,
Yeah.
and that was the problem. So, and then as the two strokes kind of dwindled away and we went through one of them first lean stretches, you had to build your own stuff because there was nothing to build. There was no new machines to get. You could get the Banshee, but the Banshee wasn't suitable for motocross racing and stuff like that. So, I've seen many a guys show up at the track on a Banshee and seen many a guys leave before the races got half over because they just crash it or couldn't ride it. It was just too wild. So
Yeah, there's been a few guys show up with the Banshees that could run them.
I
yeah,
remember
Yeah.
Travis always had a really nice Banshee growing up. Like when Travis McPhee.
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
that blue
Such-
one he had there for a bit?
Well,
He's had a lot of nice race bikes over the year. I always thought he raced, but everybody says I never remember it. But I always thought he did race.
the problem with the Banshee for motocross racing was the power band was so light switch.
Yeah.
It was either on or off. You couldn't seem to get into the middle, and so either they were over the handlebars or they're back off the handlebars because the power would hit,
Yeah.
and they were hard to drive on a motocross track. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there was lots of guys that did pretty good on them, but for the most part, that was a hard learning curve.
yeah, it was a rugged machine to ride.
It was.
And I mean, there was lots of guys that come with just about any machine that was produced. Like I remember good buddy of mine, Billy McCormick, on, you must remember
Yeah.
Billy with the Predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
It.
How big are they again, Predators?
500,
Yeah.
Polaris,
Yeah.
before they switched it to the MXR.
They were
KTM
chain drive too,
motors.
weren't they?
Yep.
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 I think I almost bought one when I was younger and I ended up backing out on it.
The unfortunate thing with the
Tyson,
four-wheeler racing, like when you were on the sanction stuff, was that we were always the redheaded stepchild of the races. We were the freak
Send them
show.
out to clean the track.
Yeah.
Out first in practice to clean the rain off.
Yep.
Out last after the track's done.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So it was hard for a local guy to show up that thought maybe he'd like to give it a go. He'd show up, he'd have to buy a license. And there was no day passes or anything then. Like you had to buy a full-blown license.
Yep.
Then you had to register.
Yep.
And then you went out, and there wasn't even probably an appropriate class for you.
No.
So you were
No.
racing with either pros or whatever. It was very discouraging for a guy to try it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just...
Absolutely.
Lots of guys loaded up and said, I'm not going back and doing that. I'll just
Right.
go to a gravel pit and ride
Ride
spirited.
all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a hard thing to break into. Like, you really had to be a diehard to get
Yeah.
into it and take your lumps and progress. Now, obviously, we've seen is in your days of racing, it did.
Yes.
When the 450 production bikes started hitting,
once the 450s come out, it
Man,
went crazy for a
it
little
did
bit.
go
Yeah.
crazy. Really, probably the 400EX was probably the beginning
Of that.
That gives a guy a brand new bike to buy and something to work on and could make a race bike out of it. And man, that brought a lot of people out of the woodwork.
Well, you guys, Pro Cycle were showing up with bikes, and Action Cycles were showing up with machines.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
all built.
Yeah.
It was got to be quite a competition at the time because I was on a 400EX. That was in the beginnings, and I was out of the Pro Cycle stable.
Yeah.
And then you had Kyle Ledwich was out of the Action
Action
Cycle stable.
Cycles, right.
So there was always trying to be secret about what we're doing to our bikes and whatnot.
Yep.
So it was a lot of cat and mouse stuff. But as we raced, it was a tight knit family. No one went without.
No, that's right.
If we could get your bike back up and get you going, you were going to hand a guy whatever he needed to get him back
That's
out there.
right.
There was never fighting. You might be frustrated that you didn't win or whatever.
That's right.
But
That's
you
right.
think about it, man. Like everyone got along, and
Everybody
if
got along
someone
awesome.
was on the line and was a problem, you just shut down. You waited.
Yeah, it was no big deal if
Yeah.
this guy need 2 minutes.
And,
Need 2 minutes, right?
karma could get you every time. I remember me and Kyle Ledwich were up in Pleasant Valley one weekend, and I can't remember what happened. He tore up a set of tires, and he didn't have a spare set of tires. And he sent his old man over and said, is there any chance of borrowing a couple of tires? Kyle can't race.
Yeah.
And what do you say? You don't want to be known as that turd.
That's right. That's right.
So, anyways,
Here
I
you go.
said, no problem. I'll give him a set. He can have a set of tires in one condition. I get to pick the tire. So it was a muddy weekend,
Yeah.
but it was drying up fast. So I said, here's the condition. Tell him to keep his wheels off his bike. I'll keep the wheels off my bike, and he can have whatever 2 tires I don't take.
Yeah.
So I might go with stocks because it's still muddy, or I might go with a set of whatever.
Yep.
And that's what we did. At the last minute, I threw the stock tires on, and he took my race tires,
Yep.
and we raced.
Yep.
And I think I got some pictures there of him, me, nose to tail, going around the track.
Yeah.
But that's what you
Good
did.
racing.
You
That's
did
good
that
racing.
because guess what? 2 weekends later, I had to bore an exhaust off his bike because the friggin' mount broke on my 400X and I needed him up there.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. It's the same way with the four-wheel
So,
drive
you know,
truck
so
racing.
you don't want to be known as that turd that doesn't help out. You know,
Yeah.
you want to, you know, try to get them good. You want to beat these guys fair and square. You don't want an asterisk beside your name.
That's right.
Yeah.
That, you
That's
know, he won
right.
that championship, but,
But
you know, because no one showed up that weekend and he won.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Or
so-
this guy was broke, couldn't make it to the line, won by
Yeah,
default,
so we,
right?
you know,
Right.
like that's was, and you know, and it was a good family environment. People got along, liked each other.
This indoor racing used to be a big thing. Like I say, there was the wheels or big wheels or
Power wheels, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, sport wheels. No.
So Super Wheels,
Super Wheels.
Super
Right.
Wheels was at Exhibition Park.
But then you guys say you raced in the Metro Center too.
We
was
were
it-
at the
was a
Metro
common
Center.
thing?
We were at the Metro Center. There was there was midwinter. They put on an arena cross type thing there and it brought in dirt and made a track for the. And what they did was there was no way that like this wasn't about. This was for the spectators. This wasn't about get 100 bikes there and everybody can race.
Yeah.
They went with a pro quad class. And they went with a couple of pro dirt bike classes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You weren't watching, you know Joey going on his 80.
Yeah.
They wanted a good show.
Yeah.
And when we went and we raced like Friday night, we raced Saturday afternoon or Saturday night and then Sunday afternoon or something.
Okay,
And
okay.
yeah, that was a lot of good fun. But boys, was we ever scurrying to build bikes? You know, this happened in like January and you know we had obviously at that time we had, you know our race bikes all tore apart, so we were just throwing together whatever we could get together to be there. We wanted to be there. Like
That's
this,
right.
You know, this
That's
is
right.
people come to see this. So
Yeah.
so that's what we were doing.
That's cool. You said you done some side shows for the monster trucks too in there, did you?
They'd have the monster trucks there. I don't think I ever did any monster trucks when they had dirt in there. But the time that I did it, I had heard they were coming, and I had some kind of a contact. So I reached out to the guys and said, can a local guy race? And they're like, yes. We bring guys along too in case no one's there. But we would definitely
Yeah.
would like you there. And he said, understand that this is sort of like Santa Claus is not real. So, there's going to be a little bit of script. It's going to be racing and you're going to be banging and smashing, but there's going to be a storyline. And we want to use you as the local hero, taking on all these bad guys.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyways, so back in that day, they put the Coke
Quad
syrup.
Wars.
Yep,
Yeah.
Coke syrup all over the cement. And it was just like rotting on gum.
Distraction.
Yeah, you didn't know what power was until you come out of a corner. It didn't matter what you had for a bike, and you cracked on the throttle because you had instant traction on cement.
That'd be like a TT track.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
and there was no jumps, no nothing. It was just an oval
flat
around
track.
it.
Yeah.
And it was pretty fun. Pretty fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
And another one of them things that cut the monotony of the wintertime. Got back on the bike, got to do something. So
Yep.
I had done that. I did. One year, I had a friend up in Ontario that I talked to a lot and bought a lot. He had a race shop, and he invited me up there to the Sky Dome for a monster truck.
Okay, that'd be
So
cool.
he
You
goes,
got to do the sky dome.
yeah. So he goes, if you can get your way
Yeah.
up here, he goes, there'll be a quad waiting for you, and I'll pick you up at the airport.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'll be there. So we showed up, and he goes, I was half right. He goes, the quad's in the trailer, but it's only half together, so we're going to have to finish build it once we get to Olympic Stadium or to Sky Dome. So
Yeah.
anyway, so here we were friggin' piecing together a quad for me to go out, and he had one. So we went out, and they had the dirt. There was the full meal deal then. This is the monster trucks and the whole 9 yards. So
Jeez, a lot of people.
full,
right in front of.
yeah, full. That was a lot of fun doing that
So what
too.
Yeah.
bike was it that you rode up there?
Suzuki Quad Racer.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, Suzuki Quad Racer.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I was on. That was pretty much what I had run all my early years of four-wheeler racing.
Yeah.
Was a
You like the Suzukis then?
yeah. Well, at the time, they were easy to get.
Yeah.
The Honda come online around 86, 87, but you could get a quad racer.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of race parts available.
Yep.
And you just kind of you went with what you could afford to build.
That's how we
That's
kind of
right.
met. We met quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
You did some work on my
Yeah.
Suzuki while changing tires on me. But
Yeah.
Didn't make it too far after
Yeah.
that day, but
So
crashed it pretty. I'll show you pictures afterwards.
yeah.
Turned the bike right into a pretzel.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But no. I like my Suzukis. I like the 400Zs. I was a big
Yeah.
fan of them.
That's what
A
I.
lot of parts to have, like you
Yeah.
buy DRZ, need motor, perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was always running either or.
Yeah.
So
That was my final.
This is
That's
400.
That's likely what you see me on
Yes,
then.
yes. First time
Yeah.
I think I seen you. The first race I went to, I think, was in 2004 or 3, and it would have been Fox Hollow, the second last one of the year, and I went to Riverglade after.
Yeah.
I grew up with Kyle Elliott. Me and him were in the same class coming up through school, and we hooked up. He says, "We'll take my dirt bike out." I said, "Well, fuck, I'll come up with you guys and take my quad." And we were riding, and he said, "Man, you're pretty good on that. You should come do motocross." And he talked me into it. So
Yep.
that's when we ended up going. But I remember that was pretty muddy that day. And like I say, is you were one of the guys that come up and passed me and take it off in the junior class, and then the pros come around and start laughing at you. I said, "Holy man, these guys are fucking fast!" Like, I thought I was pretty good on a bike until I got on a motocross track with all the boys, and it was like that was an eye opener.
Yeah. Same as when I started. It always seemed like my rhythm was off. Like when I first got into the four-wheeler racing, like Glenn Baker and all these guys, and all the ones that were come from New Brunswick, they're quite advanced to where I was starting at then. They had good equipment. I'm starting out. It was humbling to get lapped and get beat bad. So then you just started making goals for yourself. You're like, something. There's nothing wrong with me. All these people that are watching, they don't do this. They're too scared to even come out and try it.
Right.
So how with them?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. So then you started making goals. This race, no one's gonna lap me.
Yeah.
Next race, I'm gonna try to stay in their dust. Next race, I'm gonna try to stay with somebody.
Yeah.
And something, and just slowly but surely, and your equipment got a little better.
Yep.
You took a little bit more serious, got a little bit better.
More confidence.
And the next thing you know, the biggest thing I always used to say to people, not what I do, try to make your bike as reliable as you can.
That's
because
right.
there's going to be carnage. There's going to be careless people that build bikes that things are going to fly off of and they're never going to finish.
Yeah.
So try, and that be another goal. Don't be last place. Try to finish.
Yeah.
And you just kept on getting a little better, a little
Yep.
better, a little
Yep.
better. And then slowly but surely, eventually you get there. You get there. But the problem was, like when I got into it, there was no junior class. What they were doing at that time was just an ATV class. So tell me how that was fair.
Yeah.
Showing up and racing against these guys. But I knew that's what I had to do.
Yep.
If I was going to go anywhere with this, I had to run with these guys. So
That's right.
You just did. And, it was a long time before a trophy come my way. But, they did it finally, So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So what was your favorite race you've ever done? Like, where's your favorite track? Or
Obviously, Montreal will have a soft
Yeah.
spot always just because it was so big.
yeah,
But I mean, there was some local tracks around. Like that track you were talking about, that one, was that the one that leased in Lee Steve's backyard? That Fox
Yes.
Hollow?
Yes.
That was a fun quad
That
track.
was a fun quad.
That was a
track.
fun
It had,
track.
Had the school bus.
That's
in the
right.
back. Yeah.
And then you come down through the woods and you come back, and it kind of had almost like a sky jump that you kind of jump down into a bit of a.
Oh, and right into a U-turn at the bottom of the hill. That was like
that
you just
was
dropped.
That was a
into
fun
a
track.
U-turn and then right back up the other side.
I'll tell you where else it was a fun track, and I always liked going to it, was the motocross track that was down Metagan.
I've heard
The
about
first
that
place
one.
I ever took a first place.
That track was so fun, and it was a great spectator track because it was so flat, and the spectators sat up sort of on the hill.
bank, yep.
And man, I had some of my best runs there.
You still see it when you're heading down the
You can-
highway. It's
yeah.
still there.
So I enjoyed going there. That was a fun place.
I've never been to that one.
No,
Yep,
yeah,
that was-
it was fun. There's been a lot of tracks that come and went.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, these are back in my early Glenn Baker days when we first were going to the races and stuff. And, you would pull in these places like Bathurst and you'd roll in and they'd be building the track right now. Like, you know what I mean? These weren't tracks that were, like
Already established.
Yeah.
they're throwing together tracks in the morning to go, like, and race by afternoon and stuff. And
Yep.
boys, I'll tell you what, we've seen our share of some pretty Mickey Mouse tracks too. So, but good times.
That's right.
And guess what? Probably the priority of them days was the night before out drinking. So
That's
it didn't
right.
matter anyway.
Yeah.
So, one way or the other, we were coming home with a good time. So,
Yep.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Sounds like some people in the VF Goodwrench.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Leaving
Oh
things
yeah.
to the last minute.
Yep.
No, but no, that's pretty cool. You said you mentioned award you wanted to talk about. the award. The
Junior class award.
junior class.
Oh yes, yeah. The Carl Mitchell Memorial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever heard this story or where what the Carl Mitchell Trophy or where it come from.
No.
So Carl Mitchell, he was a good friend of mine, and we went back a long way. And he was always interested in the ATV race and stuff like that. Well, this was back in my 400EX days. So he decided that he wanted to be my mechanic. He wanted to be my mechanic, and I usually always exclusively worked on my own bikes. But we were friends. I'm like, well, we can, okay. So he did all those things, and whatnot, and give me a point where I could just concentrate on racing the bike. Yeah. I didn't have to worry about gassing it up, cleaning the mud off it, checking it over. He did all that, so it was good. It was a good thing. We got along, and we had same interests and stuff. So anyways, that's fine. This went on. We come to the end of the season, and Carl was always one of these guys. I want to buy the bike. Yeah. I want to buy the bike. I want to buy my bike, because to him it was his baby.
Yep.
He was doing all the work to it, and I'd always, okay. So anyways, come the end of the summer, I headed off to New Zealand for a month of ATVing, and I get this message while I'm down there. You're on the other side of the world. My mother's like, "There's a Carl guy here that says he's here to buy your 4-wheeler." I'm like, son of a bitch got the money. He's going to buy it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sell it to him. So anyways, that happened. I come back, and his intentions was to run the junior class. So we're late in the season, so there was still a few races left. And I think he went to a couple. In the end of the season was a lot of for fun races. Like, somebody had put on something. And he went to a couple of them and whatnot. And he was wanting, he had the bug.
Yeah.
He was borrowing my enclosed trailer. I wasn't going. He was borrowing my enclosed trailer, and he was going. He was getting his hands.
The bike, man.
So that's fine. Season ends. He said to me, he goes, Remembrance Day weekend, we're going to have a big go. All the guys are going for a spirited ride. I'm like, right on. What does that mean? He goes, well, just everybody that's fast is going to go and ride.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay. I said, I really don't have a bike because you bought my bike. He goes, why don't you take the... So him and me were building a TRX 250R together.
Yep.
He goes, why don't you take the R? I said, well, okay. All right. So anyways, I show up at his place, and here's all kinds of people here. They're all, and it's the same old story.
Yep.
This guy's putting chain and sprockets on, and that guy's doing this and doing that, and it's just getting more delayed by the minute. You know what I mean? It's just getting worse and worse. So finally, I said, I'm done. I'm not going. I said, I got better things to do. So I left. I loaded up, and I left and went home. So I decided, well, something. I'm going to go out to Shubenacadie and give my mother a hand around the house. So I get out there, and I walk into her place. And I just tell me the look on her face. She just had a look. She goes, "You better sit down." So I'm thinking, oh, this is family or something. Yeah. So I sit down. I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "I just got a phone call, and Carl Mitchell just died." I'm like, "He just died?" She goes, "Yeah, he was just in an ATV accident." And I'm like, "I just seen him 45 minutes ago." Like,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they had left. And they were on a dirt road going somewhere. I don't know the particulars. Somehow he left the road, and that was the end of Carl.
It happened quick. It happened quick. Wow.
So the season was over, and we decided, Carl was a special guy. Pro Cycle. He worked at Pro Cycle. Pro Cycle closed the doors the day of his funeral.
Yeah.
And anybody went. So we decided, something. Why don't we get a trophy? Like, why don't we get a big trophy, the Carl Mitchell Memorial, and give it out to the junior champion of the year?
Yep.
And everyone said that's a great idea, and that's what we did. We got this trophy, and that was the plan at the banquet.
Yep.
The junior champion would win the trophy. Because how often, really, in the junior classes, how often does somebody get a big trophy? It never happens for them guys. They're just there. So anyways, that's what we did, and we had this trophy, and that was the Carl Mitchell Memorial Trophy.
Yep.
And I was never able to win it because obviously I wasn't a junior. So and then the trophy, I don't know. It just kind of disappeared, and I'd love to find it
Maybe that's how we'll find it. Maybe somebody's
Yeah,
watching.
maybe somebody out there.
Yeah.
Somebody knows where it's at.
I'd love
Reach
to.
out.
It'd be nice to take that trophy and either give it to Pro to put on display,
Yep.
or maybe even Carl's wife at the
Yep.
time. Maybe she might like to have the trophy. I don't
Yep.
know, or maybe she don't. But
Yep.
it'd be nice to know
I
what
think
become
it'd be
of
cool
the
to
trophy.
put it on a display at Pro Cycle. That'd be
Yeah,
a cool
that
thing.
would be
That would
pretty
be
cool.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
It was a nice trophy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a nice
Yeah.
trophy, and it was a great gesture because he was a junior,
Yeah.
and it was the right thing to do at the time. So
Yeah,
so,
no,
yeah.
maybe we can find the person who
Yeah,
has it.
it's
Cut
out
this
there
into a
somewhere.
short,
Because
put it out there.
The idea of it was you got the trophy for the year,
Yep.
you got a small memento,
Yep.
give the big trophy back.
Yep.
And then the series just died. And
Who was the last junior to win a series?
Well, that's a good question.
Would have been Conrad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's we should maybe we'll send ice out.
Yeah, yeah.
Start going house to house and see if
Yeah.
we're looking for a trophy.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
You had
great.
mentioned flat track racing down in Liverpool.
Liverpool,
That's one of the tracks
Queen
that we race the trucks
Speedway.
at.
Yeah.
Well, Queen Speedway, maybe is that right on the side of the 103?
It's an oval track.
It's still there.
As far as I know,
Third
it is.
oval track.
So
yeah.
so back in
So
the
it must be Roughneck Raceway.
yeah. So that
Yeah.
was you were asking the years, and it was like we look at that one picture. I think it was 95 or 94. Anyways, how that came to be, Todd Kraus,
Yep.
which is still around doing
Yep.
some side by side stuff, and he's still I see his name around.
Yep.
He had some kind of a connection with the guy that owned the track. And Todd and them guys were doing a few of the motocross races, the Valley one and stuff like that. They were around.
Yeah.
They were around. Anyways, he goes, I want to put on this thing. The guy wants us down there. He goes, he wants to have an oval track, like a dirt oval. I mean, we were just looking for a place to race.
Yeah.
So we all went down, and that guy, whoever he was or whoever had the place, he appreciated us.
Yep.
Yep.
There was no admission. You went in. They paid us to race, and nice trophies and a good thing. And we started off with the oval, but the problem is that obviously the faster bikes were going to keep getting faster and faster. So
That's right.
we were all set for motocross racing. A couple of the ringers that were down around there had Banshees and stuff. If they're beating you every lap by 3 seconds, there's no way you're ever going to catch them.
That's right, yeah.
So then they decided, well, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we alternate back and forth? One weekend we'll do TT, one weekend we'll do flat track. So they put a little mini
On the
chicane
inside.
and come in and put a whoop section, some real light jumps, nothing crazy, because they didn't want to compromise the suspension with the guys that were lowering the machines and
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
So that's what they did. They went with the TT, and it took off. People liked that because now there was some action in it. You know what I mean? Like the races weren't long; they were sprint, so you weren't really leaving anybody, and it was nose to tail, and it was some pretty interesting racing, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
It's all the bikes that were around doing all this racing in them days. It's like, where are all these bikes at now?
Where did they go?
Where did they go?
Where did they go? Well,
In people's garages and
well,
sheds.
I'll tell you where a lot of them went was guys like me. Like I was, racing Suzuki quad racers. We were stockpiling them. They weren't making them no more. We couldn't find them. So if you seen a blown up quad racer in some guy's barn, you bought it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have, it'd be nothing for, to come to my place, and I'd have, 3 different quad racers in different stages of being built.
Yep.
Maybe not for this year, but that frame would be the one I'm starting to work on for next year.
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
painted, doing this, and starting to build it for next year.
Yep.
So a lot of them got gobbled up, frames broke, got thrown away,
Yeah.
Yep.
hogged other motors into them.
Yep.
That's what happened with a lot of them. Yeah.
You still have one now, don't you? You said, or
The,
450R.
the only thing I got now is my last race bike, the Zed. I
Okay.
kept that. I still got that around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
it-
seeing that
yeah.
when I came to visit. That was sitting right in your shop.
Yeah,
still.
yeah, it's still around. People say, even my wife says, why do you keep that thing around here? It's just like, I could never. There's no way you're ever going to sell it and get the money that you had into it.
No.
No, that's right.
You
And
know.
especially something like that is,
It's hard to sell because it's hard. You never
You
know
had to
the
Yeah,
find a
you
guy,
can hop on it and go trail
a guy
ride,
like
you could,
Robert
but
might
you
be interested in
destroyed
buying it
it,
because
yeah.
he could appreciate that them shocks are worth money on that thing, and that's
Oh,
an
yeah.
aftermarket swing arm, and
Right.
he's got that done. That's an FCR carb on that.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So a guy like you or I would
Yeah.
appreciate that. We'd know that it was worth money. But the next guy come along, no, it's a Z400.
Yeah.
It's a Z400. I'll give you 1,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
No.
The crank's worth friggin' 2,000.
Right.
So you're not giving me 1,500.
And that's the guy that's going to go beat it through the woods,
Yeah.
and then it's going to sit underneath, like on his back deck or outside, and not get
So what I
taken care
did,
of, right? So
when I finished up whatever I was doing race at the time, I knew that people were just going to nag me to death trying to sandbag me. I took that bike in 2006 and I put it in my shed, and it closed the doors, and it come back out in 2012.
Yep.
Brought it back out, and it was in there that whole time.
So now it's not CMRC anymore. Now it's CM. I don't know. I don't even know what they're.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's only a few tracks that are operating, and there is no quad classes.
No.
I think it's
No.
what was it? So I was looking at that the other day.
See, I wonder if these tracks that's running now, if they open it back up to the quads, who's out there ready to show up? You know,
It's a good question.
like really,
It's a good question. I know there's a few guys still got race quads.
I know I got a
Tucked
few
away.
buddies that got
Yeah.
some ones tucked away and stuff like that.
To be honest with you, like I say that, the quad's hard to sell and this and that. We always hoped that maybe at some point there might be some kind of a reunion.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if they call, if someone as yourself said, listen, man, we're gonna put a gig on, nothing serious,
Yep.
but we'd like to get the Glenn Bakers, the Mark Millers, the Brent Lewises of the world
Yep.
to show up. And man, wouldn't that suck to not have a bike to not show up at that?
Yeah.
So
I feel that one.
it's so that's why I keep it around. And I mean I've pulled that thing out, and I've gone to a couple things with it. I know Mitch Cook had a side-by-side slalom thing in 2019.
Yes.
2019.
Yeah, I never made it down.
And I went to that.
Watched some
Probably one of
videos
the
on it.
last
Yeah,
years
they had
we
side by
ran,
sides
wasn't
there.
They did.
They had a few race tracks.
And I did go to that. In 2012, the quad thing was pretty much on its cancerous death then. It was things we were on
2012
life.
13 was the last.
Yeah,
year,
2012. The season was starting. They were on life support.
Yeah.
And Glenn and them, and I had been retired for a while. I had other things I wanted to do, like build a house and just kind of get things settled, start paying some of the debts that I had, whatnot.
Accumulated.
So anyways, they talked me into coming back out in 2012 for a handful of races. I said, I'm not running I'll come when I can come.
Yep.
But I'll come back. So I come back out in 2012 and did a handful of races with the guys and whatnot. And I think you're right. I think the year after that might have been the DAG and I think what it was is that the sanction, like the ones that were looking after it, they were just waiting for the numbers to get down so they could put the dagger in it.
Let's say it's not enough of you guys.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that, we were there, and that's what we do. We just kept trying to keep the thing on life support.
Yeah.
We kept it on life support until when you guys all come along.
Yep.
And then good things happen. Well, that was the hope again, that maybe we can keep this thing on life support with enough guys around until the next, because here we are now, there's nothing. And it's not probably going to come back, and that's the problem.
No, that's
It killed it.
Yeah.
And but now, like back to Quebec again. Quebec, it's still business as usual up there. They have their quad classes, and they're just as crazy about them as they ever were.
Yep.
So it's too bad. It's too
Possible,
bad.
We'll never know. I like to see GNC coming cross country.
That's where it's at now.
Yeah,
I think.
that's where. Yeah, 'cause
Especially with the scope of bikes that's out
why
there.
You're right.
You got it's
Yeah.
race bikes, but it's like you said, it's 1,000 cc.
Yeah.
100 horsepower, 4x4 race
I mean,
bikes.
let's face it. You go into Polaris or you go into Can-Am and you grab one of them. Other than creature comforts to your own liking, what would you have to do to be competitive?
Nothing. Like you
Heat
go buy
locks,
an
tires already on them.
they all, yeah, like
piggyback
I said,
shocks,
you want one
ready
for
to
mud
go.
racing,
Ready to go.
right?
It's and the thing is like it's a pretty level playing field.
Yeah. You don't even got to change the exhaust or nothing on them.
No,
Like,
it's
pretty
a-
much they're
That's the thing with that, and I truly think that if anybody was going to take the ATV racing by the horns now, that's the direction I think that you want to go.
Yeah.
Because you're just that way you can avoid the the racetracks and stuff, and you can, if you got somebody that would give you the land or whatever, you can have one, and then you can always as time goes by improve it. make the track, maybe make a different route.
Right.
And maybe other places will jump on board after
I
that.
got a lot of guys that reached out after the last pod we did with Art and mentioned and talked about it.
Yeah.
A lot of guys reach out, oh, we got land. If you want to come do something, we'll donate. Like I've had ATV clubs. We'll close our trails down for, for 2 days and do an event, right? Like we'd love to. They think it's great because that's where it's kind of going.
Something new.
They want to see it, right? And
It's, like I said,
and anybody can do it, It's just you got certain rules you got to put in place.
Yeah.
Obviously, you ain't coming in with a Honda 300.
General safety.
With big safety boxes on it, like it's going to be racks and that's it, right?
It's going to be quasi race. We're not
you're not coming in with, like I said, a back seat, a windshield,
there's
and
gotta
all
be
that
some
stuff
kind
on it.
of-
Right?
some
Like
kind
it
of-
ain't happening. Yeah, right.
No, there's got to be some kind of
You're not coming in with a half-face helmet on, stuff like that. You're wearing chest protector. You're wearing the gear, right? Like you said, you're having full floorboards. Like you ain't coming in a Honda that's got just put pegs in it and stuff like that.
So, like, cross country, I guess, way back was a thing, but wasn't really a thing for a long time, like for ATVs. I guess there's hare scrambles and that for the dirt bikes, but
with the cross country stuff, like I said, back in the 80s, it was big.
Yeah.
It was massive because I don't think at that time they really knew where three-wheelers were going to race. You know what I mean? They didn't know that it was going to be motocrossing. They didn't know it was going to be ice racing. We were in the early infancy of the stuff. So cross-country racing seemed like the logical choice.
yeah.
What were we doing? We're going back to trails anyway, driving fast. So why not make a race out of it?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So that's where it came from. That's where it started, and obviously, but it didn't hold on. And then in the 2000s, there the guy down there in the valley had that little makeshift thing there. And I told me and Ben Brown and another guy, we had gone down one Saturday or one Sunday morning and did a little cross country thing there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was a fun day.
Be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And, it takes a whole different skill to race that. You don't
I
have to be
kind
the
of
fastest
remember
guy.
reading about that.
It's all the endurance and, like you
Atlantic
said, it's
Motocross
survival,
Marathon
right?
race.
Like,
is.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how fast the bike you got, or like how scared you are, or how much balls you got. If you ain't smart, or ain't quick on a dime, right?
The
You're going
smart
into a
guy that
trade.
can skip across them 3 ruts
Yeah.
and get up the other side of the hill,
Yep.
that's the guy that's going to
one
freaking
win.
do good.
Yeah.
Right.
Not the guy that's got this done to his bike and that done to his bike and got these tires. It's that guy that can manipulate through.
Well, and
Right.
that's another thing too with the bikes. It's like the build, like you said, quad riders aren't like what they were back when you guys were racing. Right now, you can go buy a 1000cc bike right off the line that's race ready to go. People can't handle it.
Yeah.
Like straight up, and I'll say it, right? Like 90% of the people cannot actually. They're just buying. Oh, I can go do what you're doing. It's like you think you can,
Yeah.
right? Like let's
You're
see
a lot
it.
of machine.
Let's
Robert, you know as well as
machine.
I do, like when in the motocross race, the four-wheelers, how many of your friends would go and watch you, or you'd see them after, and, oh, that looked easy, I should give it a go.
Oh yeah, I'd clean
It's
you out
just
there.
like-
You going slow?
I get a lot of guys.
I
that
told
come
people,
out,
I said,
a lot
you
of
can be the
guys in the
fastest guy
local
in the pit.
community that will watch the videos and watch
Yeah,
the race and
come
go,
on
"Oh,
out."
I would kick your ass." And it's like, you come to the race. Why didn't you? Oh, it ain't worth my time. It's just like you sit there and say you can beat me.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we'll go to this hole. Let's see if you can beat me. No. Why don't you come to an actual event where there's people watching?
It looks a lot easier than what it is. Like you're out there pounding, smashing. Like the TV camera don't show just how rough that is and what's pounding you going over them motocross tracks and stuff like that.
Oh, man, some
I
of
had
them
friends
are
in my early years be
crazy.
just, geez, I think just like, well, come on out.
Yeah.
Come
What's
on
stopping
out.
you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, what's stopping you?
Yep.
Come on out. I made a fool of myself for a long time.
That's
so come
it.
on out.
That's
Yeah.
it. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's a totally different experience when you're trying to skip across the water hole doing 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Especially when you go head over your handlebars.
Well, that's what I always told everybody. Hey, you could be the fastest guy in the pit.
Yeah.
Jump higher than everybody. Climb all the biggest hills. It don't mean shit. Go down a motocross track. It's
Yeah.
just totally fucking
Yeah.
different.
What I always remember about you, like even to this day, like when you were racing four-wheelers, like we'd go to these races, and there'd be a little bit of pressure on. You're racing for a shop, whatever, and you're in a championship. This guy, it didn't matter. It was for the moment.
Yeah.
He had a smile on his face. Like you could almost picture him wanting to turn back around and go back and do the jump again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You'd
yeah.
see the guy, and it had nothing to do about like the stresses.
Yeah.
He was the moment.
Yeah.
If he bonsai'd that jump,
Yeah.
that was it. It was, oh my geez, that was awesome.
First time I cleared that, awesome.
Like it just, I could never see it. I never witnessed a guy that was always
happy.
in a,
Yeah, no, I
happy
get
about the
that.
whole
Nope,
friggin' thing. Or if you roll the bike over there, just, gonna get it next time.
Yeah.
Like, I always remember that
Well,
about you.
that's
I was just
kinda
like so
like me.
carefree.
A little bit like me. Like I said, that second event is when I rolled, wasn't it? Yeah.
All the boys were pretty good.
Right.
All the fellas were pretty
Yeah.
good, eh? Like to race with, and especially like I remember when I first come out there with you guys, and it was like, holy fuck, these guys are fast. And it took me a couple seasons to start even keeping up. Like you know,
And like I said, they're just layers. And then we would head off, like I said, to the Montreal Supercross and leave us like we're standing still.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And most of them Quebec guys were getting left standing still by the Americans. Like, it's just, there's just, the layers of it is crazy.
Down in the States, like even now, it's still pretty serious down there.
It is.
Like, man, like you go down there and you watch,
Atlantic are,
like, they got
C-class riders.
Man, they got C,
You know-
D, A, like it's just, and then they got like in one class, they'll have like a bunch of takeoffs because there's so many people in that one class, right? Like I was watching, was it Nationals? Which Nationals was it? There was like 300 bikes there.
Yeah, they get
just like pro class alone,
Yeah.
right? And it was insane watching them go. They'd start 30 seconds later, next class would go.
Oh,
30 seconds later, next class would go.
AMA Pro Am
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
Quite a spread of anywhere from 14 years old,
Yeah.
to 30, 40 years old, and everywhere in between. Like
Way more population, way more money.
Yeah.
Yes.
People do this stuff. And
like you said, the parts are down there.
Parts are down there. And shops like that, well, these places, that's their business.
Yeah.
So they want to get that pipe on whoever's bike.
Right.
Because if that's on Chad Wienen's bike, that means we just sold friggin' 5,000 of these to other people because he runs one of them. And that's where the real numbers come from.
Right.
And that's the thing. Whereas up here, in Canada, it's not that. We just don't have the population.
Yeah.
The people aren't into
And
it.
even like the Can-Ams, most of the parts, you got a couple companies in Canada that sell parts, but most of the good aftermarket parts that everybody wants, they're all down in the States.
All
And you're
down.
paying 50% duty on them to try and get them the hell up here and stuff like that.
But I say that, but over the years, like in the quads, there's been some damn fast guys come out of Canada that went down the States and did things too.
Yes, there is.
Like Jasmine Plant, guys like that, Richard Pelchat, the Desermos, guys like that. There was a couple guys from Ontario. These guys went down there and were all that those guys were.
Do you remember Lamb Track? You know who
Yes.
I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Michael.
Go man.
Yeah, Michael. He
did things down there.
Yeah, he won. I think he won the New England
He
Championship.
did. And I remember here, well, probably longer back than I think it was. I was sitting there one day with.
He went to Daytona.
I'm watching the lineup for Daytona, and this name comes up, and I'm like,
I fucking know that guy.
that name seems familiar.
Yeah.
And
I
yes, he
remember him
was.
showing up
Yeah,
with, when he was a little kid on a blaster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then showed up with the 450.
Do you remember? The guy, Johnny Nadeau, that was on the Cannondale?
John Nadeau.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
we were watching videos of him.
Yeah,
Yes, we were watching videos of him.
I got
the
a
other
funny
night.
story about him.
And he had a buddy that Trevor.
Yes.
Trevor
Yes.
Holland.
Yes.
Yep.
So John Nadeau. One year was one of our last years that I drove. We went to the Montreal Supercross,
Yep.
and him and me went, not together. He just because he's from up in northern New Brunswick, so he went, and I went.
Yep.
Anyways, so we're going through all the qualifying, get in the main. All the friggin' bikes head into the first corner. Big pile up in the first corner. Guess who squirts through the crowd? John Nadeau. John Nadeau is leading the Montreal Supercross. He gets out to a massive lead. We're talking Americans in Quebec. He's out to a massive lead, and they don't flag it. They let the race go. Well, holy Jesus, he held them off for the whole race. At the end of it, some of the Americans and a couple of Quebec guys caught up to him. It just looked like three wolves attacking a deer. Yeah. They were trying to get by the guy, and they couldn't get by him. And he won the Montreal Supercross. He comes back around, and this is a big deal. The interview, and he gets up there, and he's gassed. All he can do when they stick the microphone, all he can do is keep on going, giving a thumbs up the whole time. That's all he does. He doesn't say a word. He's just giving the thumbs up the whole time because he doesn't even know what to say. So he
awesome.
won the Montreal Supercross.
No, he was there the second race I was ever at. So
Yeah.
I went to Fox Hollow, was the second to last race of that season, and then to Riverglade to close out the season. I remember saying, "Holy shit, it's a Cannon."
Yeah.
Right. I only
Yeah.
seen these things in
That
dirt.
was a rare. That was a unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when he won that Montreal Supercross the next year, he got some support from Cannondale. That was a big deal.
I imagine
It
so.
was, and he got like another bike and got some support. And
But he raced the New England stuff.
he did.
I thought.
He
yeah.
did too as well. He was
Yeah.
he was one of them kind of guys. He was right on the New Brunswick Quebec border. So like when you're
For him
there.
to jump down, it wasn't that.
No, and that's where these guys did a lot of their riding anyway. So
Yeah.
it just so happened he'd come down this way. But yeah, I'll never forget that. And if you dig deep enough, sometimes you'll see some of them old Montreal Supercross videos. You might find a video of them, but I'll never forget that. It just looked like a pack of wolves trying to kill him. They were trying to get by him, and they couldn't get by him. They couldn't get by him, and he held them off. And like I said,
find that video.
yeah, and he gets to the podium there, and he can't even speak. He's just giving the thumbs up the whole time. So, anyways, yeah, pretty cool.
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
No, I remember some of the bikes that like there was a lot of fast guys local. Like there was a lot of fast guys. I remember that Trevor Holland. He had I think it was like a Laggers chassis.
Trevor had a 400EX, and he stogged one of them. That would have been the Wildest F400 motor.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was a 400.
Yeah,
or
that was before
426,
that was, or it might have been a 426, but it was the earlier incarnation of that.
Yep.
Yeah, and he stogged a motor into a 400EX frame. He was another kind of an engineer type guy. Could build stuff.
Like I remember the triple down at Riverglade. Of course, I was just doing
He
the
loved
top
jumping.
tabletop there. Holy man! And I'm coming down, and he's just. I looked up. And
I know.
He's just right
He
over
was just like a
top of my
bird.
head. Holy shit!
That guy. I think that's what he went to the races for, to jump.
just to do that.
Yeah, some guys just love the airtime. They
Yep.
love that airtime, and that's what they went for. Yeah. But you're right. There was some pretty fast guys.
There was some scary guys to get on the track with. Oh man, I was always nervous anytime I was beside Kenny Robinson. That guy was wild. he was a good racer. Was wild.
Yeah. But you just figure these guys out.
That's it. That's exactly
Figure
it.
it out, and as time goes by, you just like myself in the latter years of my racing, I didn't really like the big leaps. I didn't like the big jumps, and I just I was always thinking about the consequences, or what if what if the thing locks up, or what if, so still wanted to race though. I'm like I'm losing time on the jumps and stuff. So I just told myself, well, guess what, Mark? You got to just start getting faster in the corners, and you got to get faster in the whoop sections.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I would just go to places, and I would just find the whoop section, and just go down through the whoop section. Come back around, go down through the whoop section.
Yep.
Find the corners, and try to go through the corner as fast as you possibly can.
Yep.
And that's kept me sort of
where you
competitive.
make
I didn't
your
have
speed,
to make the big leaps anymore.
Yep.
I was able to do it in other places, and that's what you had to do.
That's right.
It just things as you get older and whatever, like priorities and things change. It's just you gotta look at it a different way. Because you know what it feels like to be hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
Alright.
So
Absolutely.
that's kind of what you did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Did you have anybody you want to shout out or anything like that, or?
Yeah, for me, Pro Cycle was always probably my biggest sponsor.
Yep.
When Pete Dunsworth, he was one of the original owners. Them guys always took an interest in what I did.
Yep.
They always had, they would always put some kind of a program together, parts or whatever, a deal on a bike or whatever. And them guys through thick and thin were with me. And like even to this day, I've worked there and whatnot. And to this day, I still get a ton of stuff there. And I still fly the flag for those guys. Even though I get nothing out of it anymore, I still fly the flag for them guys and whatnot. They were probably one of my biggest sponsors. In the early year, the 400X days, had Honda Canada, of all. They had money available, and through Pro, just hit the right connections and was getting money through Honda Canada. They wanted to make these 400Xs competitive. That's where they were going. The 450Rs were not a thing at that point.
That's right.
So they stepped up and did good things. And a lot of times what these places would do is they wouldn't just hand you a check and say, here. They would find your shop, give them the money, and they'd put it into an account for you.
Yeah.
And you get it in parts or
That's right.
whatever.
Yeah.
That way you weren't just blowing the money. They, it was going to good cause. So,
Yeah.
so then when my Honda days finished up, Suzuki Canada, they come and we did some pretty cool things. That's where the Z come from.
Yeah.
The funny story there was, I was supposed to be on a 450R for that year, and what happened was Honda decided that they wanted to take all the money that they were going to that had promised to the off-road world. They wanted to sign a couple of road racers, and they used all the budget for them. There was nothing left.
Yep.
I had no bike, no nothing. I was supposed to get a 450R, and Pro only got like 2 of 3, and they were sold, and I didn't get one. So I was pissed. What am I going to do now? So anyway, lo and behold, Frank Howell, who was the Suzuki rep at the time, he come in the door, and I just jokingly said to him, this guy, I'd never seen a guy that Suzuki blood run through. This guy is Mr. Suzuki, Frank Howell. Yeah. I come out and just jokingly said, so why don't you get me some of that Suzuki money and we'll build a Z400 and we'll kill these Hondas. And he said, yeah, okay. And I didn't take it serious.
Oh, geez, that was easy.
Well, anyway, the next thing you know, he's back talking to me again. He said, I talked to my people, and he said, we can do it. I'm like, okay. He goes, you put a list together what you need. I said, well, Frank, here's the thing. It's not going to be OEM Suzuki parts we need. We need swing arms. We need, this, we need that, and everything else.
Yeah.
He goes, you put together what we need. He said, do you think we can get it all through Pro? I said, well, quite a bit of it, or there's other places.
Yep.
Lo and behold, he come through, got the money, and we started building the Z400. Well, so now I've got a major nasty on for Honda because they friggin' left me high and dry. Well, I was still racing a 250R, TRX 250R, and it didn't quite have the Z ready to go. So I showed up down at what's the track down the valley there?
Kingston?
No, not Kingston.
Blaines.
Yes.
Mill Hill.
I showed up there. The Z wasn't ready to go. No, I'm sorry. It was Kingston. I showed up at Kingston. I said, well, I'm Suzuki sponsored now, but I don't have a Z together. We deckled up the TRX 250R and Suzuki stickers. I raced the first 2 races of that season.
Yeah.
It must have been like 2004 or 5. I can't remember.
You must have had some people confused.
The TRX had a big Suzuki S on each side of the gas tank, and
I kind of remember that.
Yep, and I raced that a couple, and then I had the Z ready for Mill Hill.
Yep.
And that's when I debuted that thing.
Yep.
And the problem with that bike was I had a lot of teething problems because so much happened at once with it. It wasn't like, we added this. We were building motor. We were building suspension. We were doing this. We were doing that. We were doing electrical, this and that. And we just didn't have the time to iron out all the bugs. So it took a couple of trial and errors to get that bike up.
With anything.
Yeah.
With
but we
anything.
did finally get it conquered.
Yep.
And then it turned into a pretty damn good bike. And it made big power.
Was it a 440 or?
Well, we put the big bore kit in it. And that got it to like a 440 or 450. But then I had reached out and got a Falcon crank and put the stroker crank in it. And that brought it up to about a 490. But then on top of that, with all the electrical, FCR carb, cams and stuff, and then went to work on the suspension and stuff.
Torque, why don't you just leave that thing in third gear and you go.
Yeah. So it and we did some other kind of crazy things with it. Got rid of the steel back subframe and it went with an aluminum one and lowered it an inch. So I actually sat lower on the bike.
Is that an aftermarket subframe?
No, had another guy had it built. Had a guy build it for me. That was nice because as well as I do. At that time, the Z400 was kind of like it was more of a recreational bike, so it's set up high.
Yes.
Yeah, they were high. Yeah.
So what we did was we chopped the seat, lowered the frame rails of the subframe an inch, and lowered the whole bike down. So now I was more in it.
Okay.
And that worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's so Suzuki Canada stepped up big,
Yep.
and we did some pretty cool stuff with that.
That's awesome.
So that was
Yeah,
my
I always liked the Zeds. I always liked them. Actually, last time I went biking with Andrew Deal, that's what I had with my 400 Z.
yeah.
Yep.
And they took me out. It was all Renegades, and they had the built Honda 300s at the time. The lifted up ones, and they showed, you got the wrong bike, come with us. And I'm like, do I? I was like, oh crap.
So I had my race bike built, and then Pro give me a bone stock. They had an 03 just to drive, like to kind of just get out on. And I remember, a buddy of mine had a 400EX with a pipe on it, and I had the bone stock Suzuki, and going down by like on the Blois Road, they were side by side.
Yep. Yep.
So the pipe on the 400EX and that bone, we could not pull away from each other. It was just like side by side the whole way down the road.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I had both of them. 400EX. I had a 460EX built. And that was a sweet machine.
Yeah.
Stroker and everything in it.
Yeah, I bought a 400EX actually from Clay Palmer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was about 460. It was like all the parts that they didn't use on Johnny's bike. And Clay ended up building a bike, had the
Yeah.
black Mayer fenders and stuff. And
That I truly think that 400EX probably revived the ATV racing at the time.
yeah, absolutely
It,
did.
you either got on or you get left behind.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm getting on a 4-stroke right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna drag my heels. I'm gonna try to get on a 400EX and try to pioneer this
Yep.
sort
Yeah.
of thing. So it was a good bike in its day. They
Yeah,
were very
for sure,
competitive.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Even
competitive.
when the Zeds come out though, they were
Still
ahead
good.
of their time.
Yeah.
Still very good.
The only problem with the 400EX was is you started making big power at the heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't liquid cooled, and they that was the problem. They'd heat up and they'd start puffing smoke and stuff, and
Yeah.
and that was the problem with them was that.
Yeah.
And they had other little issues, but for the most part, yeah, it was a good bike of the day for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, we're at an hour 20.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Did- Jeez, yeah, man.
Pretty good in. So, yeah, if there's anything else you want to touch on or anything.
Well, that's pretty much kind of a nutshell of the.
Yeah.
If you guys have any more
no,
questions,
yeah,
by all
yeah,
means.
no,
If there's
it's,
anything.
It's
you know.
it's there's been a lot happen.
Yeah.
There has.
in the last 30 years.
There has,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. And you were there. You got to experience a pretty good.
But and when it was at its height, I
You
was
got
there.
to see, like I'm
Yeah.
telling you, that was at its high. Every brand had some kind of a race competitive machine.
Yep.
They were, and they were sinking money into it, and
Yep.
sponsors, and oh my, it was
KTM.
it was good times.
The Cat Shack when they were in
Yes, it was
when they
good.
were in Elmsdale, they hooked me up with the bike.
Yeah, it was good times.
Oh,
it really
man.
was.
Yep.
It was, it really was good times. It was money around, but it's just like everything else. Ride the lightning.
That's it. That's it. Get
Because
while the getting's good.
It ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just like musical chairs. It ends.
Yep.
And that's it. Now you're back on your own again. And some guys just are too. They won't do that. They won't spend their own money, or they won't do. whatever.
I keep in touch with all the guys that we used to race with.
Yeah.
I always talk to Chris Krause and Deal and McKinnon, and still talk to Brentley now and again. And
Yeah.
see all the boys around, right?
Yeah. There's some of them I see. Some I wish I see more. You just life
That's
gets in the
it.
way.
That's right.
It just seems like it's the most coincidental times when I run into somebody.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
funny how
Yep.
it happens
Yep.
that way and whatnot. But
No, I say I hadn't heard your name for years, and I was down at Bobby Aiken's shop. And,
Yes.
and next thing you know, he said, "Oh, I was just on the phone with a buddy of mine. He said he knew you, Mark Miller." I said, "Oh shit, I haven't heard Mark in years."
yeah, and I think he relayed it back to me. Same thing. He goes, "Do you know?" He goes, "Do you know Robert Simon?" I'm like, "Do I ever?" Yeah. He goes, "How the hell do you know him?" I said, "We raced together." I
Yep.
said, "Yeah, he raced quads." I said, "We did a couple of years together." I said,
Yep.
"He was around. He was
Yep.
around the circuit." So
No, it was a lot of fun, man. I had a lot of fun in them days
Yeah.
too, like the traveling. You know what I mean? There's all the different tracks.
It was good times.
It was a lot of
It
good
was
times.
good times.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff, a lot of good stories, a lot of things that are forgotten. That
Yeah.
Yeah.
every day I think of something else, and just like, oh my God, I forgot all about that happening and
Yeah, no, like-
whatnot.
No, it was.
There's and along the way, there's regrets. There's things that you wish maybe you had done maybe a little different,
That's
or
right.
or maybe I should have done this or that,
That's
or maybe I should have sold everything and bought a van and went down the States and lived out of a van and seen how far you could have pushed it in the States.
That's right.
Maybe you starved to death. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's no going back and trying that though. That's the problem.
That's it. That's it.
Obviously the dream wasn't that big to me to try that. Or
even nowadays, it's like the only bike available if you're going to go buy a new bike is a Yamaha.
Yamaha.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, but they're making new race bikes. It's just they're bigger bikes. It's just there's no races out there yet for them in Canada. You go down the States, there's tons of GNC races every weekend. There's a GNC cross country race somewhere that you could enter these bikes in.
Or even the mud bogs.
Or the mud bogs. Like we're getting mud bogs up here a bit more. Like we got Kim's event every 3 times a week. Art wants to do an event. Middle Muscadal, but they want to throw an event. I'm hearing now that Aylesford, they want to start like a quad series. They're wanting to do it. It's got to get done.
It's back in the day. People, we always sold it as everyone had a quad in their garage, so they could relate to this thing.
Right.
The guys were racing.
But you go to the motocross races. Well, it's not like you got a KX250 sitting in your garage, but you probably got an old Foreman with a plow on it.
That's right. And people were marveled at what these things could do and a light thing. So,
I remember the pros would go, the pro dirt bikes, and that you'd see it. Everybody right at the fence. Yeah. Well, it was the same for the four wheelers.
Yeah.
It was the same for the four wheelers.
It was just something different to look at.
Yeah.
And and most people would remember something from that quad race. They'd be just like, man, did you see them four-wheelers?
Oh, man, and they were twice as loud.
Yeah.
Twice as loud as the dirt bikes going around the track.
No, it was a good, it was fun. It was a good time. It really was a good time.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wish maybe along the way, if I could go back in time, probably I think it would have been cool to swing a leg over a snow cross with a snowmobile.
Yeah.
I mean, I am still a snowmobiler. And that's the one thing that always kind of eggs me now thinking, that would have been entry level at the time to get in because they were starting to race these snowmobiles. And what more closer than a race four-wheeler than that?
That's right, especially well, I guess they're not new now, but the newer style sleds, there's not the wedge chassis. You sit up, rider forward.
I always thought, that if I could go back in time, that might have been an interesting thing to...
Sleds are fun. I was trying to explain to him about how much he's...
I never really did that sled.
I'm into mountain riding, right? I'm into the deep snow up inside the mountain kind of deal. Yeah. That's my kind of sledding, but no, I told him he's always missing out. Like, it's a whole other...
He is missing
out. That's why I've learned, while motocross helped, but learning how to run a four-wheeler good through off rough terrain is from running a sled up in the mountains, right? Yeah. Just swing my body over, hopping back over all midair, right?
I always kept a snowmobile around, even in my ATV days.
Yeah.
It gave you something in the off season to ride aggressive. Yeah. And the suspension of them things and whatnot, it was good. And even to this day, that's what I do now, snowmobile.
Yeah. That's so what do you got for a sled now?
I got a Polaris 600 SP.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. And my young fella, he's 13 and a half now. He's my riding partner.
Yeah.
He runs a Yamaha 400 Venom, and we go quite a bit.
Yeah,
nice.
That's our thing.
Yeah,
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm a Can-Am guy for the sleds BRP. I like the revs. I like the Rev 800. Yeah. That's what I used to have.
They're all good until they break.
Yeah, no, I used to break my lot. Like I told him when I used to work at Wentworth, that's all we ran was Thunder 600s and the Rev 600s and stuff like that. They had a warehouse out back. It was stock. You'd have brand new tunnels. You'd have brand new crate motors. You'd have everything sitting there. Yeah. We'd break, blow a motor one run. Oh, swap it in right quick. Now they don't let us do that anymore. I think they caught on to us because we were having a little too much fun because we used to work night shifts. So we'd go in, you do it for so many years, you get good at setting the guns up and knowing where to set stuff up. And we'd set all the guns up and we'd have we got 4 hours of time. What are we going to do? Fill the sleds up and we'd just... all over the cross-country trails all night long, right?
I've done it, played with all toys, and there's nothing any funner than a night like last night, full moon, on a snowmobile and driving aggressive through trails. I'm telling you, you pull over on the side and all the boys are there. There's nothing,
Oh,
there's
I know.
nothing that is as fun
No.
is that. at
And
that
that's
moment.
it's the same thing as like the cross country, especially like I said, I worked night shifts, so like it was always I'd only have a little bit of time in daylight, so it was all night running. Like it was all night running. Like I said, you get going through. Like I had an 800 motor in my 600 chassis, right, and I would just friggin' cook through the trees. You know, one headlight working, the other one smashed out, kind of deal, and I just loved it. Climbing up, even going up like the head wall. Well, back then, the head wall wasn't opened like it is now. It's like wide open. It was just a little had the chute that went down and around, and we'd just be bombing up through the trees and stuff like that. That was to me that's what I like doing.
Yeah, it's good.
Or drag racing up the Rose Bowl. We used to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Get everybody to line up until
Yeah.
we got caught. Same thing.
Good times.
Owner Lindsay, she's like, we're out one night and it was blowing hard, and we were going up and down the Rose Bowl a bunch of times, and then we come back. One guy come down like the not the chairlift but the T-bar. Another guy come down on the other side of the chairlift, and it was dusty at the bottom. They couldn't see each other right in front of the webcam, you know, and head on. And Lindsay, I don't know why, but it was just she was decided to watch the camera that time. She said she watched it all happen. She said she could see the headlights come bang right in, and then the sleds were stuck together. We drag them over to the shop. We're like trying to unstick them, right? And then you come to the door, all we heard was just smash. And here she comes, what are you guys doing? Like,
It was like a gate drop, and you got a few, 2 or 3 quads all
Oh,
tangled
my
up
gosh.
together.
oh man, that's what it was though.
That was the worst.
Like the front,
man.
like they would.
Somebody would flinch, and you'd see the guy flinch, and you'd go too, and the
Yeah.
next thing you know, you were caught.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I was almost worthwhile back in them days to go back a half a wheel length and creep. You know what I mean? Creep,
Yeah.
like, because the closer you got, now you've got no room for air. Because if that comes down and catches your tire, you're done.
You're done.
But
Yeah.
you could start rolling.
I love the starts.
Yeah,
The
you can
starts
start
were the
rolling it.
funnest
It
part.
give you a little bit, and you were already momentum rolling.
Yeah,
And
when
then
it
if it
drops,
drops,
and
and you
you
might
need to
even
go.
trigger somebody to jump the start.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you did anything you could to get a leg up on
Yeah.
somebody, whatever it took.
I was watching bloopers there, a gate drops the other day, and it was funny just how many. I think like 4 or 5 guys right in a row. One guy, that's what it was, jumped it.
Yeah.
And then they all jumped it. The gate dropped and just caught their front tires, all of them right over the handlebars.
Have any bad wrecks? See any bad wrecks? I
Yeah.
imagine you've seen your share.
Yeah, I've
on
hit
the track.
Oh yeah, I've hit some broken bones over the years. There's
Yep.
Yeah.
definitely been some some broken wrists and stuff like that.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, for sure.
Ouch.
Yeah. I remember one of my first bad ones. We were down in Kingston, and Jesus, didn't I friggin' cook my bike the first moto? So anyway, here I am sitting in the pit, gonna pack up. Todd Kraus, of all people,
Yeah.
he runs Suzuki, and he goes, well, you can take my bike if you want. I'm like, well, okay. Well, he kind of failed to tell me that he had a wider front end and he had his wheels inside out. So the front end was very live with no steering damper.
Yeah.
So I go out and line up. I'm just going for the points. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, that's why I go out. We go down in through the woods, back up around the other side, and I come off a jump, and the thing hits sideways, and that thing friggin' kicks its handlebars back, and I heard snap.
Oh.
I'm like, whoa, something's not right.
Oh.
So I pulled in, and I looked at my wrist. I'm like, man, something ain't right. So the ambulance was there, and they're like, well, no, you probably might have, sprained it or something like that. So, anyways, there's like just maybe just elevate it and stop in Cobequid on your way by. So we're heading home. I can't remember who was driving. I'm like, does that look right to you? And there's a big wow in my wrist. It must have separated.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I can't remember who was driving, pretty went off the road. They're like, no, that don't look right. So we stopped at Cobequid, and they're like, go right into Halifax.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, broken wrist.
Yep.
And that was all from borrowing a bike.
You'd have to get surgery on that? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how that
Yeah, I've
happens.
had a few surgeries on this.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is one of the bad things that happened after I seen you the last time. That
Yeah.
would have been 2018, or I crashed my
You ever ride
DRZ.
Steve Dowling's track?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
over in
Yeah.
Pictou County.
Yep.
Yeah, Pictou County.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I was over there, and it's the
Yep.
same thing on a borrowed bike. Was
Yeah.
on a 450R Honda.
Bad thing to do.
And one of the big tabletops. Anyways, I smacked it, tried to give it a seat bounce, and the thing just kicked like that, and I went over the
Well, especially when
handlebars, and it landed on top.
You're used to your bike, and you
Well,
jump on someone
that's just
else's
it.
bike, right?
Well,
Like-
that's just it. That's
Couple
don't
broken
know.
bones that time.
Well, I
as well.
proved that this summer. I let some guy, like I had a bike that was demoed to me to race. And he'd come out, and he had the 850, I had the 650, and we were right, like, dragging. He could not beat me for the life of him on his own bike. And he's like, what do you got done to your bike? And I was like, it's nothing. I'm just used to it. And then I got him to jump on. He's like, well, I'm taking your bike. Cause he's like, I was cleaning him by like 4 or 5 bike lengths at the end of it. He's like, shouldn't be happening. I jump on his bike, it's the same thing. And he got worse on my bike. And he's like, what the hell? And he almost wiped it at the end of it because he wasn't used to the steering and stuff on the Renegade.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fucking comical, right? And he's like, nope, I want my bike back.
You're, like I said, in the races like that, you're especially when you get on something you're not familiar with, you're taking your chances.
That's right.
You're taking your chances.
Right.
Like it's not something I would
That's
recommend.
why I believe I crashed at Kim's is because I didn't touch my bike at all, like my Renegade, at all that day. I was just on the Outlanders, and I was doing the time bog, and I do it fast. And I don't know, I probably hit the time bog probably 100 times a day on the Outlander. Had someone bring my 650 up to the line for me to race. I jumped on it. The first one, I sent my foot through the front fender and I had to stop, and that was a fail. So then the second one, I'm like, I'm going. I'm not losing this one. And
over the bars.
Oh man, I had it was perfect all the way up to the last hole. And what happened was on the second last hole, it was dug out so much, I had the small tires on it, as I bellied out. And I just held it full throttle, and I went from this way and I went like this and just trying to get out of the hole, and then all of a sudden it grabbed right for the crowd, 90 right out of the hole, and I whipped it right around. And I remember I was tapped in low gear, and I do about 85 kilometers an hour in low gear, and I hit that hole coming on sideways. I shouldn't have. And I almost made it. Almost. I almost landed out
You got up pretty quick.
Oh, I was up right away.
Most times, when you're younger like that, you're flexible.
Well, I get up, right? I'm looking at my bike, and I'm literally the whole, probably 25 feet long, something like that.
Yep.
I'm probably 5 feet from being out of the water, right? So I made a good distance, and I'm looking, and everybody's just staring at me. I'm like, woo! Nobody was cheering me on. I was waiting for it.
I always laugh. I think back in them days, how many concussions did a guy have because they weren't even invented then?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
How many times did you bang your head and you were seeing birds and that was just normal. Shake it off. Get back out there.
Right.
There's another moto. Man, oh man, how many concussions did a guy have that didn't even know?
Yeah. Oh, I definitely had a concussion after. There was no.
Rang the bell a few times.
I remember I partied all night that night, passed out by the entrance gate. Panera, wasn't it? Walking the dog. It was 4:30 in the morning, and I'm just out, sprawled out, just sleeping, snoozing. I got up next morning. Someone had a car for me to race. I'm like, nope, I'm going home. My head hurts, my whole body right down head to toe is just aching. I don't think I got out of bed for a week. I just laid there, my whole bike, it sat, because I got my buddy to take it home on his trailer because there was no way I was getting on the back of my truck. And it sat there for probably, I think, 3 or 4 days before I went and touched it.
Yeah.
And I drained the front and the rear cylinder. And when I pulled the rear cylinder spark plug out, the water come gushing out. That's how much pressure was in it. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
I was like, this motor's fucked. Drained the oil. Not a lick of water in the oil by some chance. I probably spent a couple of days drying it out.
Yeah.
Put it back in. 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers later, hasn't skipped a beat yet, right?
Just lucky. Yeah.
Oh, that was it was pure luck, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I had my tether switch on for that one. That's what I think that's what saved it. When I went off the bike, it just killed it, right? And it wasn't running when it flipped upside down, right?
That was a must in our days of racing.
Yeah.
Our tether kill switch.
Yes.
Because that thing never got away from you.
Yeah.
It was just going where it was going.
That's
There was
right.
no stopping
Well,
it.
I used to wear my
that.
tether switch all the time, and everybody always made fun of me for it. They're like, "Oh, what? Just slip it." Because in the Can-Ams you can click the tether switch to the bike, and I'm like, "What's the point of that?" They give you one.
Yeah.
You may as well just wear it. The only time I don't like wearing it so much is when you're doing bounty hole and stuff like that, because you never know where you're going to be at on the bike, right? And you don't want that pulling off.
As you got the cool.
As you got
a throttle on the left-hand side along with the right-hand side.
Yeah, I got throttle.
So when you can hop off one side.
Yeah.
and jump on it
Pretty
and run
cool
it.
idea.
Yeah, I got a few different.
I'll tell you, if just four-wheelers in general, when you look at the technology,
Yeah.
where they've gone,
Crazy.
I got engine braking control.
It's crazy, the stuff.
I can tune my bike on the fly.
Yeah,
I got 3
that
different
stuff
modes,
wasn't
right?
even,
4 or 5
I
different sets
remember
of power
these,
steering,
aftermarket
right?
CDIs you could get back in the day
gain,
with the...
gain 500 RPMs.
Yeah, right,
like
right.
or the one I laugh about the most, like like in the two-stroke days, you're porting cylinders and hogging this out and doing this and that, and you made a horsepower.
Right.
Yeah.
And these day and ages, you got to plug something into your computer, and they just made you 30.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that it's all
different.
electronics
Oh, yeah,
now. The
no.
stuff that they
Well,
do.
that's what I've been looking at, new tuners, and I haven't pulled the trigger. I was going to get the PV4, the Dynojet one, but now I'm looking at them all. It's just
Now
like, I don't know
everything
which one.
You know
It's
what I'm
either
Yeah,
the PV4, the map tuner, or an HP tuner. And it's like, I think the HP tuner is the one I'm going to go with, because it seems like it's a little bit more.
We
You
played
can
with
do a lot more
We
with
played
it.
a little bit with that PCM6
Yeah,
on
that-
her Renegade.
that's-
Holy man.
There's been some, definitely along the
night
way,
and
there's
day.
been some game
Night
changers
and
in
day.
the ATV
right.
world.
Well, that was like my bike. So my bike comes stock, like the 650 I got, comes stock with 64 horsepower, they say, or something, 64, 62 horsepower. And right now, with the tune and everything, from people that I've talked to that have tuned them and put similar tunes on, they're saying I'm pushing around 80 horsepower.
Yeah.
Just just going and
Just
unlocking
pressing the button.
unlocking
Yeah.
the
No,
bike,
it's
right?
crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
you've seen it. Most
Yeah.
I haven't had a single person
And
come
it's-
up to me and go, "Is that
and
a
the thing is with
small
that,
bike?"
it's you can like that's see the pinch, you can feel it.
Yeah.
It isn't like someone, I think it's there. Like back in them days where I'm talking, like you do all this work and without a dyno, you might have friggin' lost power.
Yeah.
But it sounds louder. It must be faster.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know
That's
what I mean?
right.
You don't even know what you did. Like
Yeah.
and like now these man, it just. But
Well, like
the other big game changer in the four-wheeler, like the power steering and the suspension and stuff, like it's just
and the
way
CVT
easier to
like
drive.
the CVT transmission stuff like
Yeah,
that.
brake,
You're not-
engine braking and stuff. It's
Yeah,
got
like
so
it's
much
just
better.
hit the throttle, go. You don't got to gear up and stuff. Like I said, it's a whole different category. Of
And the other thing I noticed too, like with the big ones, like you're saying, even though they're a big heavy bike, they've made them to feel like they're not a big heavy bike.
Well, even my bike, like the Renegade, they're really like they are heavy, but like 750 pounds. The 1000s weigh 880 pounds. So like really,
That's a lot of machine.
it's
is.
a lot of
That's a lot
machine.
of
No, it is
machine,
compared to what like a Z400 or 400. Yeah.
I just feel like when I'm on the bigger bikes, like you're skipping across the ground.
Oh, you
Yeah.
are.
You know,
Oh,
like
100%,
whereas
are.
like the idea with the race bikes is big suspension, but sit low and hope
Yeah.
get the suspension to sag.
Yeah.
So
now-
that when you're driving, you were down low to the ground, but when you did the big leap, everything dropped down and you got 12 inches of suspension.
Right,
Yeah.
Then
right.
back up again.
But, like even though they're big and built, like I can put my bike on a pitch like that and drive along it, and I won't flip. Like it's suction cut to that ground, even with the 30-inch tire
the technology
on it, right?
has come a
Like,
long ways. There's no
they-
doubt about it.
Like I get a lot of my buddies that they get them, and they'll be driving like doing the highway trails, skipping from spots, and you got to get on that. And they're like, I can't do this. It's like, trust me, your bike's just gonna stick to it like glue.
That's right. You just
It is
have the
right. You don't
confidence to
even
do it.
you don't even got to think about. You could sit on it. You don't even got to lean. It's just gonna take your time and go right.
Yep.
They get used. Man, this isn't like driving my Honda 300 I had. Yeah, no, it's nothing like driving your Honda 300, right? Like,
I don't even, anytime I've ever worked on any of that older stuff now, like I don't even consider that an ATV anymore.
No,
like
right.
like a 450 Honda 300, like it's just
Yeah.
hard to believe that the technology where it's gone. Like it really is.
one of my first bikes was a Honda. It was a 89 Honda 300 two-wheel drive. That was one. Of
I'm not a big side-by-side guy.
I never was.
I down the States, I do blame the side-by-sides for probably putting the last dagger in sport ATVs because that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
But, is there good things about a side-by-side? Definitely. But it's just too rich for my blood.
Yeah.
What I would need to buy is I'm not spending that type of money on
you're
something
spending
like
it.
that.
Like you go look at the Polaris Expedition, the 1500. Kenny Scoffhorn bought one. And I'm not sure if this is true or not. This is from people saying it. It was like $153,000 price tag is what he paid at the door.
Crazy.
For the side by side. That's all factory options. That's
yeah.
nothing that like he
But
said.
people
Pull the trigger on them.
Man,
people
like-
love
And
it.
if you
right?
talk to the reps or talk to anybody and say, why don't you build an entry-level four-wheeler? We'd rather sell one side-by-side and the shop make $10,000 than make $500 on each one of them.
Yeah.
They want the big sale.
Yeah,
They want that big sale.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
It doesn't,
too,
to
but-
me, it doesn't help the industry none, though,
No.
because now you got kids and stuff that have nothing to drive to
Yeah.
work their way up through. That's the
Right.
problem.
Well, that's the thing. Is a lot. You hear a lot of ATV accidents these days, and I think it's a lot of people that
Wow, you know-
they're on their first bike and they buy a huge, heavy.
Well, that's
machine
another
that
thing
make
too. You
big
can go buy a
horsepower
kid's
that
bike, and
easy
it
to
costs
drive,
just as
but-
much as it would
Yeah.
cost to go buy a 500
Yeah.
cc bike. Like you look at those the the 90cc Renegades that they have out.
No.
They're like $6,000 to go buy them. You can go buy a 500cc Can-Am brand new for $775. Right?
I just had this conversation with my young fellow the other day. His 3 of his buddies showed up, and same thing. One guy was on a 150 Grizzly Yamaha.
Yeah.
The other guy was on a 700 Kodiak, and the other guy was on a Brute Force 750.
Yeah.
So, like I said to my son, I'm like, you do realize which guy owns his 4-wheeler of that 3, don't you?
Yeah.
They're driving their father's bikes. So
Yeah.
the father's bought a machine for the family, and everyone makes do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That kid, that's his 4-wheeler. That 150, that's
Yep.
his 4-wheeler
Yep.
that he's driving.
No.
And that's the problem, is that's what you get into.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
one size fits all, and it don't.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I grew up, well, my dad had one of the first 800Rs, apparently sold in a production from a action cycle there in Elmsdale, right? And I was always allowed to drive it, but I wasn't allowed to drive it without being supervised by him, right? And the only bike, and then like I said, it was always, I had 50s and 90s, and then I got the Honda 300, had that for a couple of years, and then my grandfather bought a Kawasaki 360, ended up using it, not really liking it that much, and then just got left at our house. Well, then that was only 60cc bigger. Well, you can take that one everywhere. And that's what I kind of learned on driving, right?
They were good little
That was a big bike though for me. Like I got photos of me on it, and I'm like a little kid on it, right?
Yeah.
But
my young fella, same thing. Like I've brought him up through the right sizes. Could I have skipped some and saved some money? Likely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my plan was master each size of it. Here's your 50.
Yeah.
LT50, drive it until you're on the wheels off it, and then you're on an 80,
Yeah.
and now he's on a Brute
that's
Force
basically what
300.
my dad with me.
Yeah.
They bought me my first bike.
Yeah.
They both bought me a 50cc dirt bike Honda and a 50cc. It was a 4-wheeler. I forget which. I think it was just a knockoff one, right? They bought them both at the same time and give them to me, and that's what I did. I beat the shit out of them until they were no good. It's not worth to fix it. So they buy me, the next size up, a 90,
with-
right? And then I got the 300, and then it just kind of went like that.
It's like with Caleb, he had a couple little Chinese bikes, and he had one electric bike there, which was really nice learning tool. 'Cause it was, throttle control and this and that when you're smaller, right? And Logan, I guess he had an electric bike too. Now he's got a 150, I think.
Yeah,
it is,
like I had
Logan.
Power Wheels and stuff. Like I got my first
Caleb,
4-wheeler.
he's got the 450, but we had him on a Raptor 90 for a little while, and he could drive it fine, and he was good, but to try to go out through our trails,
It was a boss.
Well, the thing is, like that's kind of.
he could make it go, but
that was the same
you
thing
look
with
back
mine,
and
like-
he'd be this high in the air bouncing
Yeah.
off rocks, right?
Yeah, that was me with
it was
my
safer to
50.
put him on
Yeah.
the full-size machine,
Yeah.
right?
But
Well,
something. But the smaller ones, like I know with my young fellow, when I watch him drive, and the characteristics that they learn along the way, you can see now that they're on
Yes,
the bigger bikes that
absolutely.
they can wheel them. They know the geometry that if I go up over the side of that bank, it's probably going to tip over.
Yeah.
Or I need momentum to get up over that. So I'm going
Yes.
to gas it down here and
Yeah.
let it coast up over the top or whatever.
My family always had bikes. Everybody, like they had 3-wheelers growing. It was always, bikes was always in the family, right? It was actually my dad's side that didn't have any bikes, but my mom's side. If I went down to my grandparents, I was on my cousin's bike, or my grandfather. Yeah, go ahead, drive around the yard on his bike, right where we can watch you. And I mean, I just tear the yard up, and they'd get cops get called because I'd be 10 years old on a big a Grizzly, or not a Grizzly, Suzuki 500. The cops, he shouldn't be on that, but I'd just be tearing around the yard he's safe, he's in the yard, he's in our eyes, he's not doing stupid stuff, right? Let him be. And that's half what made me a half decent rider, I'd say.
Start them young.
Hour and
47 minutes.
47,
Yeah, we can count her now if you want.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah.
Well, well,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, well, if you're still with
Get
us,
Mark up here.
thanks for watching, and if you need any products, I'm going to do a shout out for RJWC.
Yeah.
If you need any products, RJWC, check out my new code, TTP Off-Road, 20% off anything in the store that they sell. They got a massive sale that the code stacks on. So yeah, check that out if you need something. You got anything you want to say?
I'd like just to thank some of our sponsors, Team Extreme for sure, for the new
Yes, thanks,
microphones,
Art.
Yeah.
Thank you. Same with Mark and Lonnie. Thanks for them helping out and
Yep,
doing what they do.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
same with Cody, our little bike shop. You need any maintenance or anything like that in this area, he's the guy to go check out, used parts and all.
Was a lot of fun to have Mark on here today. little bit of insight of what's been going, like what happened in the province and led to where we're at now. And, you know, there's a lot that went on. You know, that's some cool stories. Montreal Supercross, like that's wild.
Yeah, that's
right?
It was good.
Cross country.
It was good that you were involved in it too, so you know.
Yeah,
You can get some. You know, you can get a feel for what happened.
Yeah,
what went on.
No, I was fortunate there that I wasn't there from the beginning. I was there almost to the end, but in at its height.
You did. You've seen it at its absolute pinnacle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those days, miss those days.
Yeah.
Definitely
It was
do.
good times.
Yep.
Good times. But you turn the chapter on it and you move on to the next thing that life
That's
brings
right.
along. So,
That's right.
And you said if they get some cross-country races, we might see you back out there, right?
You never know. Like I
Yeah.
said, as long as
You
there's a
never-
race bike in your stable, you're
It's
never
never
really
retirement.
Never
retired.
retirement.
Never
so,
retired.
So-
who knows? We might get to see the famous Mark Miller race
Well,
again. Could happen.
I'd be interested in this cross country. That'd be kind of fun.
I think that's where
That'd
we're
be
going
fun.
this
Or,
summer. I think
you know, I may even, you know, if it was something that you stayed on the ground,
Yeah.
like an oval or ice racing or something. If that ever come back big,
We're talking about
might see me
an
come.
oval ice track race at the end of it, but we're not sure if it's going to happen because we don't know if we got all the proper equipment down there to do it, to do a good.
Yeah.
We don't got a big roller or a drag or something like that.
Yeah.
We got or a tractor with turf tires or something tracked or something like that. So we're trying to make something happen. It might happen, might not, but definitely this summer there is going to be a cross country race. I know that there's going to be one. It's going to happen.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to happen. Might not be a lot of people there, but it will
start
show
somewhere.
it will show people what it can be done and get everybody out there. Because like you said, you gotta pretty much any
once
newer
it
bike
happens
can run
and
it,
people
right?
see it,
Right? Pretty much
they'll
any
be
newer
there.
bike you can do it, right?
The biggest thing is like any race that's going to go on from here on in. Where we weren't very lucky in my day was if you get the right classes, so a guy comes and he doesn't feel humiliated. You know what I mean?
right.
He
That's
falls into the right class.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to be. It's hard to make it perfect. You'll be saying, well, that bike's bigger than mine. But if you could get it so that it's somewhat fair, that's how you're going to keep them coming back.
Well, I kind of had a couple of different ideas for classes, like anything bigger than like the 650cc. That's like a pro class kind of deal. You get smaller bikes, novice or whatever, or however you want to. There's a bunch of different ways. It's really just have to sit down with a bunch of guys that actually want to do it and see what everybody wants to do and go through from there. But I think that's the end of the show today. And keep it right deadly.
Right, deadly, guys.